This is big. Two dynamic duos forming in Los Angeles, one on the offensive side and one on more the personnel front office side of things, that both have major impacts on this Rams season for 2025 and one of them for years beyond. And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Finehirsh. And before we get into it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so you do not miss any daily new Rams Digest videos covering all things Rams and OTAs, especially right now, but everything Rams and in between, on the field and off of the field. And now getting into today's main story of the day, the first of our two little dynamic duos. And before we get into it, like this video for dynamic duos right now. There's a lot of iconic ones. And comment down below, leave your most iconic dynamic duo in any genre. Two that come to mind immediately. If we're talking superhero universe, you got, Batman and Robin. And if we're talking music, you got Dre and Snoop. And that's my first dynamic duo that came to mind. I want you to comment below some of your favorites. But we got to get into the Puka Nacua and Devonte Adams dynamic duo. And this is brought to us by Ramblin' Fan, as we're going to get this one going here right now. Getting that going for here. It's no secret that Rams receivers Puka Nacua and Devonte Adams represent two of the best pass catchers in the NFL, as both men hope to combine their individual success into a championship effort. And this story is brought to us by Ramblin' Fan and Sports Illustrated Rams as well. A little bit of a collab here, actually. And for this, I totally agree. The Rams are looking to win that championship. Puka Nacua has yet to make a Super Bowl with his tenure as a Ram. And Devonte Adams has yet to make it past the conference championship game in his career. So both of these players are looking to win a championship. McVay trying to get a second ring. Snead trying to get a second ring. And a bunch of Rams players trying to get their first rings as well. So both of them key players to try to get this done. And in the same breath, Adams hasn't had a competent coaching staff or been part of a franchise with stability since the 2021 Packers that lost in that conference championship game. So 2025 represents an opportunity for both men to take advantage of having a critical need, a need they haven't had in quite some time. More so for Devonte than for Puka, mainly because Puka has been on more winning teams. Again, the Rams in 2023, again, kind of snuck into the playoffs, didn't really view themselves, or a lot of people didn't view them as having a legitimate shot to win that year. But 2024, they definitely had a shot to win that game against the Eagles and really make the Super Bowl, because I do believe, like many others probably do, that they would have beaten the Commanders in a conference championship game. And I think the best coach to match up with Andy Reid is Sean McVay in a Super Bowl. So for the Rams, they're definitely having these aspirations to win. And for Devonte, this is especially important, mainly because he hasn't really had a real chance in a while, as this said. And he went to the Raiders where stuff didn't work out. And he went to the Jets where it seems like, sadly for those fans, nothing really works out over there. And now for Devonte, he has that motivation to come back and be better, be stronger. Now that he's on a winning team, he has another running mate in Puka Nacua, who, while Garrett Wilson's good, I'm a Garrett Wilson fan, I do think Puka Nacua is better than him at this point in time. And he'll be able to really help that going forward. And for the Rams, the main point of this article is that both Puka Nacua and Devonte Adams are ranked inside of the top 15 by NFL analyst Greg Rosenthal, as well as a couple others in this article. And I have the full list for you coming up right now. And if we look at this list, we're just going to go over the top 10 because there are 30 names here. We got Jamar Chase at 1, Justin Jefferson at 2, A.J. Brown 3, Nico Collins 4, Puka Nacua 5, C.D. Lamb 6, Amon-Ra St. Brown 7, Tyreek Hill at 8, Brian Thomas Jr. at 9, and Malik Nabers at 10. And as you can see, Devonte Adams is there at 14, with Terry McLaurin, Drake London, Ladd McConkey, and Mike Evans all right near him. Now this is a very interesting list. Again, I would still say Justin Jefferson is purely better than Jamar Chase. Comment that down below as well. Who do you think is better, Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson? Because it's really like a 1A and 1B. Me personally, I also think Nico Collins a little high on this list. Nico Collins in the top 10 for sure. But number 4, I think Puka's better. I think CD is better. I think Amon-Ra's better. I do believe Tyreek is better. I would move Nico Collins down to 8. And I like the young guys showing love. Nacua at 5, definitely interesting considering last season he did miss some time with that knee injury, coming off of 990 yards, only 3 touchdowns, 79 catches. He did lead the league in receiving yards per game in those 11 games, so it's interesting to see how that will impact his production heading into next season. And then Devonte Adams, they're at 14. It's a pretty fair spot, in my opinion. I would say McLaurin and Drake London are definitely better. Ladd McConkey is definitely an interesting one there at number 13, mainly because he's really the only player on his team that can really be trusted to catch passes. And we'll see how that affects him heading into this year with more defenses being ready for him. And the Devonte and Mike Evans debate, I think, is extremely interesting. Similar players in terms of their ages and their career stats, but Mike Evans obviously a bit more of a contested catch 50-50 guy with his bigger frame. Love me some Mike Evans. Fantasy legend for me a couple years ago when I got laughed at for taking him. And he came in big for me. And Devonte Adams, someone who's coming off of a down year, even though he still had 1,000 yards, but both guys who I think are in good spots. And comment down below who you'd rather have right now, Devonte Adams or Mike Evans. Mike Evans did just have an injury for the first time in a little bit last year, so Devonte does have the health over him. So for that, I am going to take Adams, but it's very close. Comment that down below. If you take Mike Evans over Devonte, I would not be too mad whatsoever. Adams coming off with 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns heading into this series. 32 will be 33 at the end of the year. Again, similar age to Mike Evans. So it'll be interesting to see how he performs because the Rams gave him a 2-year deal for a reason, because they believe these 2 years can be some great ones here in LA. And we also have a quote from Puka Nacua, really going over just how much Devonte Adams has meant on the field. I feel like the positive impact has already been felt from Dynamite. From the moment he walked in, he's been willing to offer information, to have new drills, to have a complete different mindset of somebody who's played in various offenses, very different schemes, and stuff like that. So it's been exciting to hear from him. But it's been great. I think a lot of guys, my rookie year, Van Jefferson, Ben Skoranek, as well as having Kupp and Matthew, who helped me learn the nuances of our offense and allowed me to ask the right questions and provide that comfortable space to be willing to learn right next to them from Puka Nacua. And that's a really important note to keep in mind here. Mainly because Puka Nacua now has a bit of a different role. He can learn from Devonte Adams, who's a bit of a different player in the Cooper Kupp. He's not just more of a slot guy. Adams can play really any spot at that wide receiver position. So it's very important for Puka Nacua to take in that information, soak up that knowledge, and really, really become an elite player. He's already very, very good, and he's still only 24 and won't turn 25 until next year. So he still has room to grow even, despite him being already so talented. And then since entering the NFL, Nacua has actually been one of the most prolific wide receivers in football, smashing records as a rookie, and then coming back from injury during the 2024 season to propel the Rams into the playoffs. He is the most important piece to the Rams' rebuild, but it was a shame that he never got to be paired with an elite Cooper Kupp, as by the time Nacua was drafted, Kupp was dealing with injury issues. And yes, that is totally true. It would have been really cool to see what, I don't want to say a 2021 Kupp would have looked like, because 2021 Kupp was on another level. But let's say Kupp never gets hurt in 2022, maybe puts up around 1,500 yards, what that scenario would have been like for Puka Nacua. Because in this scenario, Robert Woods sadly still does get hurt, and they let him go. Same with OBJ, but I really would have wanted to see that. That would have been such an interesting pairing to look at for defenses to really try to stop and try to guard, because he would have still had prime Kupp with all that elite route running, especially from the slot and in the red zone too. He had over double-digit touchdowns that year too, so it would be really cool to see that. And we have another quote from Puka Nacua here to talk about as well, about Devonte's on-field impact for this Rams offense. I think the suddenness and the ability to steal leverage at the line of scrimmage has been something that he thrives on, and everybody in the NFL knows that's something that is one of his greatest assets. And to be able to figure that out and how that works in our route concepts and the timing of our offense. So I'd say that that's been one of the biggest things. And that's definitely important to know, is just how important that is, that Devonte is able to have that leverage, able to run those routes correctly, to really, really be able to seal off his defenders and catch passes and have room after the catch. Because Devonte Adams has been a really underrated, receiver from after the catch, to be able to gain those extra yardage scenarios and situations. And in the same breath, Adams hasn't had a competent coaching staff or have really been great there in quite some time. And I do want you to comment down below right now what you believe this Rams team can do with Adams and Nacua. Some stat predictions for Puka Nacua. I believe he will be the #1 receiver. 98 catches, just short of 100. 1,380 yards and 6 touchdowns. And for Devonte Adams, I have 80 catches, 1,175 yards, and 9 touchdowns, him being more of that red zone threat. So comment down below if you agree with those stats and leave some stat predictions of your own. And now we have our second dynamic duo of the video to get to. Remember to comment down below some of your favorite dynamic duos, as I will be looking at those and responding. We have Les Snead and Sean McVay, and this is from Rams Wire, and how they have really helped turn this Rams team around post the Aaron Donald era. The Los Angeles Rams general manager, Les Snead, and head coach, Sean McVay, have spearheaded some of the best seasons in franchise history since they joined together in 2017. The duo has made the playoffs together in all but 2 seasons over the past 8, with an 80-52 record, and making 2 Super Bowls and winning 1. Yeah, it's just been awesome as a Rams fan to see just how well this pairing has worked. Drafting players like Puka Nacua, Cam Kitchens, Byron Young, Braden Fisk, Jared Verse, Kobe Turner, Omar Spates was undrafted. You had Darrell Henderson do really well. Corey Littleton from back in the day, if you remember that. Like the video for Corey Littleton. He was blocking punts and field goals all over the place. Still miss him on this Rams team to this day. And like this video as well for great management and great coaching, because it's really important to teams, and more teams should look at the Rams as a prime example of how hiring a young coach can work out. And that success hasn't gone unnoticed. NBC Sports' Patrick Daugherty ranked the Snead-McVay pairing as the 3rd best unit in the NFL. The list didn't always include coaches, but McVay plays a key role in the team's decision-making, which is awesome. Only Philadelphia GM Howie Roseman and the Chiefs' Andy Reid and Brett Veach were higher on this list. Yeah, I agree with the Chiefs. Fair. Andy Reid, I would say, is the only coach in the league better than Sean McVay. Brett Veach and Les Snead, pretty even. Howie Roseman is an elite GM. Nick Sirianni is a good coach, I would say. I don't think he's at the level of McVay and Reid, but he's definitely a good coach, and you have to give Howie Roseman credit. He's always wheeling and dealing, putting the Eagles in good positions to win. And Daugherty has pointed out that under Rams, Snead and McVay haven't been defined by the Goff or Stafford years since both quarterbacks made the Super Bowl. Additionally, the Rams have weathered the loss of Aaron Donald only to replace him with another defensive rookie of the year in Jared Verse and a collection of defensive stars able to replicate aspects of Donald's game. And we actually have a really in-depth quote from Patrick Daugherty about this from his NBC Sports article to go over right now. Quarterback issues, offensive line woes, assistants constantly departing for head coaching jobs. McVay has weathered it all, Daugherty wrote. McVay has made plenty of mistakes, see his history of trade and free agent additions at wide receiver, but he always does admit them quickly. McVay doesn't get bogged down by the sunk cost of fallacy or the way we've always done things. He adapts and wins. A lot. That's the makings of a good coach and a good GM pairing. They have to be able to adapt. They need to be able to change things around when things aren't going well. And they really have been able to do that. Pivoting off of Goff when they felt like he wasn't a good fit. Now getting Stafford in and eventually getting that illustrious Super Bowl ring for Stafford, McVay, Snead, Aaron Donald, Kupp. Every player on that team. And they've continued to do it year in and year out, which is what makes them so elite. And the relationship between Snead and McVay is one of the tightest in the NFL, and it's a big reason why the team keeps winning despite roster turnover. Apart from one down season in 2022, which Stafford and many other members of the team were hurt, this Rams franchise has been a model of consistency, and they'll continue to hopefully have that success in 2025. Like this video for them to have success in 2025. I fully agree right now with the Rams, one of the most consistent teams in the NFL in terms of being in the picture, being in the playoffs. No, they're not the Chiefs making the Super Bowl every year, but at least they're in that conversation, and you know they're going to make those right decisions. And comment down below, what is your favorite move of the Snead-McVay era? To me, I would say it's a Stafford trade or drafting Puka Nacua. Both of those were amazing moves. And that is it for this episode of Rams Digest. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell. Turn notifications to all so you do not miss a single new daily Rams Digest video covering all things Rams, like the video for dynamic duos and Corey Littleton. Comment down below your favorite dynamic duo and stat predictions for Puka Nacua and Devonte Adams. I've been your host, Joshua Finehirsh. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you soon for another one. Have a great rest of your day.